In this video, I'm going to talk about some editing features that will help us make our designs more robust and save some time. The features I want to talk about are in the editing group, and it's the pattern and the mirror. So I just made this part, and I did it by extruding this block, extruding this hexagon that I cut, extruding this feature, and adding this revolve here at the bottom. And if I want this to look the exact same on the other side, I don't have to recreate them one by one. I can use my mirror feature to reflect it over a selected plane and be mirrored on the other side. So the way that I can do it, if I want to start with this feature, I can see that it's extrude 3. I can hit mirror here or up here. And then I just need to choose the plane I want it to be mirrored across. You can see that it's reflected on the opposite side. And there you have it. Now, if I want to do all 3 of these at once, I can do this in a couple ways. I can select all 3 features and hit mirror, choose my plane, and they will all be reflected. Or if I know that I want these 3 features to be grouped, I can select all 3 and hit group here. It will create a group. I can still see my features individually if I need to, but I can mirror that entire group across this plane. I can ungroup in the same way. If I click on this, I can hit ungroup, and it will undo that group. One thing that makes the mirror feature great is that if I make any changes to the original extrusion, it will be reflected on the mirrored part automatically. So if I want to change this dimension here to be a little smaller, it will do both at once. Next, I want to show you the pattern feature, which can be found right here. There's a lot of different patterns that you can make with this feature, but I'm going to go through a couple today. I'm going to make a grid and have a pattern that follows a certain direction. I'm going to make a pattern that follows a certain curve. I'm going to fill a certain area and make a circular pattern about a given axis. So let's get started with the grid. Let me first make an extrusion that I can make a pattern out of. So this is the feature that I want to make a pattern out of. I have it selected and I can choose pattern down here or up here. It does not matter. And to make a grid, I'm going to choose direction in the type. So I'm going to choose the first direction I want it to follow, which is this way. And how many members I want there to be. Maybe I want there to be 6. You can see that it's going to the left, but I want it to stay on the surface. So I can click this arrow and it will change directions. I can make them further apart or closer together. I'm going to make them further apart. And if I want them to follow this axis as well and make that full grid, I can choose a second direction here. And the same thing with my number of members and my spacing. When I'm all set, I can hit OK, and it will generate my pattern. Next, I'm going to show you how to make a pattern follow a given path. To do that, I'm going to select curve. And I'm okay if this pattern gets deleted. I don't have a curve drawn, so I'm going to create a sketch now and choose this top surface. And maybe I want it to kind of zigzag around here. I'm going to hit OK, resume, and this is how the pattern is going to go. I can change the spacing between my members to have them be closer together or further apart, or I can choose the number of members that I want to be along this curve. So maybe I only want there to be 5, or maybe 10, and it will calculate the spacing for me. Next, I just want my pattern to fill a certain area that I choose. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to select fill. And I don't want the same sketch I had before. I want to make a new one on this top surface. That's my sketch. I'm going to resume. And here's my pattern. So I can change that spacing to be 0.5 apart, more or less. I can choose the grid pattern if I want it to go in a different direction. I can see how far I want it to be from the border. And I can modify my angle. Now, maybe I want to remove just a couple of these in here. If I want to remove a certain extrusion from my pattern, I can just click on that dot and it will go away. And if that was a mistake, I click on it again, it comes back. Maybe I want to remove these two. I'm going to hit OK. And there's my pattern. And here's my original one that I made. Lastly, I want to show you how to make a circular pattern about an axis. So I'm going to demonstrate that on the other side. And this is the extrusion that I want to make a circular pattern with. I have it selected. I'm going to hit pattern and go into axis. Now, I don't have an existing axis right now, so I'm going to create one. I want it to be at the intersection of these two planes. Now I have my axis. It's already selected. I'm going to resume my pattern. And as you can see here, it's still selected and it's a little hard to tell, but it's highlighted green. So I can choose how many members I want in the first direction. Maybe I only want 2, and they're going to be spaced 90 degrees apart. Or if they're 20 degrees apart, I can fit more. If I want to change the direction, I can hit this arrow here. And if I want to add a second row, I can do that as well. Now, maybe I want there to be 6 members, but I want them to be going the full 360 degrees. I don't have to calculate this angle here. I can hit angular extent and make that 360 degrees, or maybe I only want it to be 180, and it will do the math for me. I can make these a little more spaced out. And now I'm all set.